Manning. Alan Dunbar. Mr. Manning, I've been looking forward to this visit. It's
Good to see you, Pastor.
And it's great to have you come and be part of our To You With Love special.
Thank you very much.
21 years on To You With Love, that's not much compared to the work you've been involved in.
Well, our radio broadcast ministry began in 1925. 69 years ago, it's been on the air every Sunday ever since.
Now let's talk a little bit about that. That's kind of one of the things a lot of the old timers will remember, this Canada's own Back to the Bible broadcast. You actually got converted because of a radio ministry, didn't you?
Yes, I was converted through that broadcast in 1926. I came to Calgary in 1927 to attend the Bible college that Mr. Eberhard founded.
Oh, so we called him affectionately Bible Bill Eberhard, I think, in those days. And
well, that's more in recent years.
Okay, Prophetic Bible Institute, I believe was the name of the school. And so as we begin to look at heritage in Canada, the name Manning's been around a lot longer than just Preston Manning with the Reformers today.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. When were you elected to office?
In 1935, we were elected to the provincial legislature.
25 years as Premier, I believe.
25, I was 33 years in the provincial government, 25 of them as Premier, 8 as a cabinet minister.
It's my understanding that you were involved in the framing of the Social Credit Party.
Well, I was with Mr. Eberhard as an assistant when he organized the Social Credit Movement, which was launched in 1932, became the government in 1935.
You know, there's a lot of young people out there who probably have no concept of what social credit is. Could you tell us what the Social Credit Party is all about?
Well, it was a populist monetary reform movement dedicated to try and do something with the desperate depression conditions of the 30s.
Yeah, and of course, there have been a lot of different kinds of political parties in Canada. Well, the Reform is a new one, meeting the kind of, I guess, desperate times we're facing in the 90s.
Well, I think you find throughout history that whenever a certain set of circumstances develops, some movement emerges to try and cope with that particular set of circumstances.
And then following that, I believe it was off to the Senate, senator, I
Yes, I
suppose.
spent 13 years in the Senate after I retired from the provincial government.
Okay, you retired from the provincial and then they kicked you out of the Senate. I do believe they do that when you're still young.
Automatic retirement.
At 75, and should I tell everybody how old you are now?
Well, they can probably figure it out from
86 and still just doing
85.
well. 85.
Charging me one too many.
Oh, well, better not do that, that's for sure. I want to talk a little bit about, not the past as much, but certainly here we are in Heritage Park, that's a good word, our heritage of our country. I happen to believe, and I know you do too, that if we go back to the founding fathers and the formation of our country, spiritual values were very important then.
Well, I believe that's true. In the early days, there was a deep respect on the part of a great many people for spiritual values and the importance of spiritual values. And that showed up right back in the days of Confederation.
Yeah, I think I grew up in Charlottetown, and there in the very chamber it talked about a divine power that was involved in even the formation of our country. What's happened?
Well, I suppose it's a combination of things, but certainly the material development which has taken place in the nation and on areas of the nation has had a detrimental effect on the spiritual life of the nation. The spiritual life has gone into decline as the materialism increased.
So with all the materialism, you mean we don't need God?
It isn't that we don't need it, but people do not appreciate the importance of it, the necessity of recognizing spiritual values and spiritual absolutes.
You know, as young people today are graduating or looking ahead, I mean, where's the hope? What's out there for young people?
Well, to me, it's a sad thing, the attitude of many young people today. Young people should be full of enthusiasm and anticipation of the future. Instead of that, you find many of them thinking the future doesn't hold anything. Personally, I think that is the result of a number of things, but two particular ones.
Okay.
One, the collapse of the family and the family influence. On the other, the loss of acceptance of spiritual absolutes. If you teach a generation or two of young people that there are no fixed compass points, no absolutes, you leave them on the sea of life adrift with no rudder, and that's where they are today.
So they have no boundaries. Everything's okay if it feels
well,
good.
We've had this heresy that truth is relative rather than absolute. Once you teach a generation to that philosophy, everybody makes his own decision as to what's right, what's wrong, what should be done, what shouldn't. There's no fixed compass points, no absolutes in which they can anchor their lives and their decisions. And I think that's a terrible thing to inflict on young people.
So from your perspective, how can we help the family these days?
Well, the family, of course, today is under terrible strains. I mean, the economic conditions, which has created a necessity in so many cases of both husband and wife working, all of these things mitigate against the old, solid type of family life that we knew in the early days.
So we're looking for real practical ways on helping families in these times.
Well, I wish there was a simple, easy way to do that, but there isn't. Personally, I believe that there's no hope of a meaningful recovery unless we see a national spiritual revival across the country. And there's a fortunate, encouraging thing in that field.
Yeah.
We need to remember that that type of revival doesn't depend on the attitude of the secular world. True revival starts with God's people.
Church, yeah.
And if they want it, and if they'll do the things necessary to permit it to come about, it'll soon impact on society as a whole, and you'll see the changes we want to see.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Manning, for spending time with us today on our 21st anniversary special.
Thank you very much.